afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Asia Palm Oil Magazine live interview session. I'm Vanny, the MC of today. I wish everyone is having a great day and good health. Sustainability has come a long way in the palm oil industry. Today, we have seen many responsible companies incorporating sustainability policies in their business. Despite the ongoing pandemic, efforts towards sustainability were never halted. Key stakeholders in the palm oil industry have worked together in synergy to mitigate arising obstacles and roadblocks. As of today, the Asia Palm Oil Magazine team is organizing this interesting webinar. Let us hear from the experts on the challenges in ensuring palm oil sustainability and also on the current issues surrounding it. Before starting the interview, allow me to proudly announce that Asia Palm Oil Magazine is celebrating 10 years of publishing. Congratulations! On behalf of the team, I sincerely appreciate the support from our readers, clients, supporting associations, friends, and of course, each of you in front of the screen who is watching this live interview session. Of course, I would like to show my gratitude to the publishing team who has been working so hard for the magazine despite the pandemic. For your information, our live interview session is in partnership with the World Palm Virtual Expo 2021 and Palmex Malaysia Exhibition 2022. Our supporting partners are the Council of Palm Oil Producing Countries, CPOPC, and the Malaysia Biomass Industries Confederation, MBIC. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce our industry experts who we will interview today. First of all, we have Mr. Muhammad Hafiz Abdul Rahman, Chief Executive Officer of Malaysian Palm Oil Certification Council, MPOCC. Mr. Hafiz, you may introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, Vinny. Thank you very much. Thank you also to Asia Palm Oil for inviting me to be here in this interview today. My name is Hafiz. I'm from the Malaysian Palm Oil Certification Council, which is one of the governing body for MSPO. We are the scheme owner to the Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil Certification Scheme, and we are incorporated in December 2014. And our main task is, of course, to establish a mechanism for the certification of entities complying to the requirement of auditable sustainable standards, and also to establish and operate a sustainable palm oil certification scheme in Malaysia. And finally, we are also tasked to engage with NGOs, institutions of higher learning, industry members, and all the relevant stakeholders in ensuring that MSPO is getting its due exposure, trying to educate people what MSPO is all about, and ultimately, and hopefully receive some market recognition in the world. So with that, thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hafiz. Next, we will have Dr. Kasdi, who is Chairman of ISPO Secretariat and Secretary General at the Ministry of Agriculture, Indonesia. Dr. Kasdi, you may introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, Fanny. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kasdi Subagiono. For the time being, I'm start as the Secretary General of the Ministry of Agriculture here in Jakarta. So 2 months ago, I still the Director General of the estate crop. So I just moved to the Secretariat General. So, but for the time being, I still the head of the ISPO Secretariat and Director General of the estate crop for the time being, because there is no new people that have a lead of the Director General yet. So for the time being, I still the chair of the ISPO in Indonesia, especially in the Director General of the estate crop. Thank you, Fanny.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Kasdi. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question for the speakers during the interview session, you may share them at the Q&A panel. The questions will be answered accordingly according to the speaker's availability. Besides, we are also having a Q&A session to answer some questions from audience open registration. Without further ado, I will pass to Ms. Susan, Director of FBI Publications, to conduct the interview. Ms. Susan, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Vani. Thank you, Mr. Hafiz and Dr. Kasdi, for joining us today at the live interview. Okay, Dr. Kasti is very live. Today is like really live from the car. So we really appreciate your time today, Dr. Kasti and Mr. Hafiz. Thank you so much for joining us today. Okay, the first questions will be for both of you, Mr. Hafiz and Dr. Kasti. Okay, I will start with Mr. Hafiz first. Local community involvement is the key to success in ensuring sustainability in palm oil. What are some of the challenges faced by Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil or MSPO and ISPO in addressing the importance of sustainability to the society? Mr. Hafiz, please.
Thank you, Susan. To start with, I think local community involvement is what national certification is all about. So, of course, there are a few challenges that we need to address on this. So, one of the things that is that really need to be addressed is we have to remember that palm oil is actually oil palm actually is being planted by the farmers or the local communities to gain more money. So, it is very profit focused. So the mentality to produce fruits and oil and related downstream products normally, of course, with a very sole objective to make money in the past. So most of it is through various business strategies. But I think the most fastest way why people wanted to make more money is by cutting costs in production. So this happens throughout the chain. So farmers will find shortcuts in putting their less fertilizers and also and it goes on. Dealers will try to take pay less money to the farmers, and then millers will impose most of the fees, and it goes on. Is a very vicious cycle. So this has created a lot of problems in the industry too. So it is also as you go along the production stream, the higher you go, and then the more cost it is to you. And of course, we can see that smallholders, especially one of the other challenges is, of course, this local committee, which is normally involving smallholders. They are not used to documentation, especially like recording their sales, purchasing of input, scheduling their harvesting and plantation management. They are not very, how would I say, systematic and used in their culture to do this. To get them to do this and to get them to audit their documents, so it became also a challenge to them for whenever we impose this certification on them. And of course, in terms of awareness, they have also no grasp on the concept of environment sustainability. For instance, sustainability is assumed to them because as long as they do not kill any animal that they see and it is being planted on a legal land, which the independent smallholders inherited throughout the years, so the sustainability awareness is never an issue to them also. So other than that, when they solely focus on, like I mentioned earlier, on trying to make as much profit on the available land that they have, when you impose a certification on them, they naturally they are resistant to it because we are now already putting extra effort for them to comply to, and then but they won't see the actual profit that's coming around. Where actually the profit came from awareness that if they implemented the certification properly with the good agricultural practice that's embedded in MSPO, they will get more income through better yields. So these are the kind of things that we are facing to ensure that facing in implementing MSPO. So what we are trying to do is try to get this local community to be comfortable, to start with is comfortable with the concept of sustainability and the whole process of it. And of course, to get them to be familiar with the documentation, with good plantation management, sustainability concepts, which all lead them to be eligible to be certified under the MSPO. So, so this is what we are trying to address. To get the whole industry, especially the smallholders, to be comfortable with the concept of certification, and this, to ultimately giving them more benefits that comes through the MSPO itself.
Yeah, so basically all the smallholders are still very manual, like I can say, even from the bookkeeping into harvesting and everything, while during this pandemic where the bigger players are actually moving towards digitalization and industry 4.0 with robots and drones. Yeah, so it's
Yes,
quite a gap over there, yeah, actually.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
and
that's what,
how,
yeah, the SPO is trying to address that, try to minimize the gap, get them to also be systematic, have their proper bookkeeping and everything, so that they will also gain the benefits and also increase their profit in the
is it
process.
possible that they also think that, what is this certification is expensive and it's not useful for me? I don't see it in the long run. Like I will need this, because
Yeah,
most of them are farmers and they don't really care about education, right?
yeah, you're right. That's why I will mention earlier effort later the efforts that we are trying to do, because to them certification, like I mentioned earlier, is just another burden to them. They have been making money, so how can certification help? But it definitely helps. So maybe later we're gonna share with you the efforts that we are trying to get them, to convince them to be part of this MSPO scheme.
Okay, sure. How about Dr. Kasdi?
Yeah.
How's the situation there in Indo? Like, what is the involvement and what is the some of the challenges faces by ISPO for
Yeah.
this local community involvement?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Susan. First of all, I would say that we have here in Indonesia is about 16.4 million hectares of palm oil area. So from those, about 41% is the smallholder. So this is very strategic to have a standardization and also certification for the our palm oil, because it's not because the quality as also mentioned by Dr. Ahmed happen in Malaysia is quite the same here. So but it's very unique in Indonesia when you ask about the challenges of the expo in terms of the smallholder. Here the new regulation before is before 2019. So the ISPO is voluntary for the smallholder, but now it's obligatory. But from those obligatory, the government pay for the certification. Farmer is not pay, the government is pay. Secondly is the smallholder have plenty time to cover that's the certificate export by 5 years. It's not 1 year for the smallholder. So this is we applied in the regulation of the presidential regulation number 6. This mentioned that the now we have a challenging we have opportunity for the smallholder to have ISPO certification because the government support the budget for the certification financing, and also for the having 5 years to have a plenty time that's to accomplish of the ISPO. We have 5 years for the smallholder. So the I think in the concept of ISPO, we evaluate already when we compare of the SDGs goals. So there are about 17 SDGs goals. Uh, from those 17, 12 SDGs goal is covered by ISPO. So we also have a refer to the SDGs goals in order to have a quantification what is important of ISPO for the smallholder, for example, and for the big company is no problem. For the state company is no problem. But we have 41% of the smallholder now is our palm oil is having a very hard, if not there is a not standardization of the product of CPO. So the production of the CPO in Indonesia in 2019, because we have data for fixed data and also for estimate data. In 2020, we have a production close to the 50 million ton, equivalent to CPO. So for 40% is come from the smallholder. So if we are not having certification, so of course you can imagine that of the price of the palm oil, especially for the CPO, because quality is not that certified yet. It's very hard to have the high price for the market. So this is very challenging. We still have opportunity for the farmer to have 5 years to accomplish the whole prerequisite of the ISPO for the smallholder. Secondly, the government pay for the certification. It's not by the farmer. Yes, Susan?
Yeah. So with ISCA now it's like come free for smallholders to actually get a
Right,
certification.
right.
In reality, is it really happening?
Oh,
Like,
yes. You can check it.
no, I'm just being curious about it because Indonesian being Indonesian, I know, yeah,
No, no, no. But yeah, yeah.
must come free. If not, they won't do it, right?
Yeah, the because we are on the center of the secretariat is always monitor, is always evaluate what happened in the field. But you can see here, but 2019 2020 start for the obligatory. Only 1 year yet. Yeah. So then we evaluate that they concern on it because some of the small herder before uh, even in the voluntary period, some of the cooperation where the farmer smallholder is uh, have the position there, they pay before when the voluntary they pay, but very limited, Susan, very limited number of the smallholder to able to pay. Therefore, the regulation come to have opportunity for farmer to have free for the certificate. So this happened. Don't 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 worry. We check it in the field. Of course, the process of certification in my office, so we can totally evaluate and totally control. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really good news then because Indonesia is now number one in the world for palm oil production. So at least if there is a lot more people actually signing up for certification, it means our grades, our standard is higher now, which is a good news for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now the question next is for Mr. Hafez. Palm oil ban can be very damaging, such as it will affect the livelihood of the smallholders. Could you elaborate on some of the steps that MSPO has taken to encourage the smallholders to opt for sustainability certifications? Mr. Hafez, please.
Yes, Suzana. Of course. We know that the industry is mainly concerned on the smallholders because the big boys or the big companies have already sort of sorted out themselves because they are a corporation. So yes, ban on palm oil will definitely affect everyone in the industry, especially smallholders. So that is why the inclusion of smallholders in the sustainable palm oil chain has always been the priority for MSPO, and in fact for any national certificate. Because we know that the big corporations have no problem in complying to whatever requirements that are demanded of them. While we of course try to certify them, the current available voluntary schemes also, especially to the smallholders, is costly for them to comply and to get it, and also it will definitely diminish whatever profits that they will make, leaving very little room to improve the income that they will get, which is the whole idea of in Malaysia. 600,000 smallholders are depending on it. So it has already improved a lot of livelihood of families, get better education, and their second generation of planters now are very well established and very well educated. So if I would say if we go for voluntary certification, so that the margin will diminish and they will have less money for them to improve their livelihood. However, so that's why under the MSPO scheme, we categorize these smallholders into two categories, which is the independent and also organized smallholders. Independent smallholders and organized smallholders. Independent smallholders are individuals that have a land and like maybe they inherited the land from their forefathers and work the plantation on the land that is available to them, and that is how they make their livelihood on. And the organized smallholders are farmers that are given land through various, I would say, federal or state scheme, such as Felda and Felkra, Rizda. In Sarawak, we have Salkra and SLDB in Sabah, where they are given land and they work their plantation, their oil palm plantation on those land that are given by the government. So this is of course again to ensure that people will get more income by working on lands. So we don't want these people to be affected, because this is part of a government scheme to ensure that a lot of people and their families are well taken care of through this industry, and the ban will definitely affect these people. So to certify them is in a way will confirm the smallholder adhere to the sustainable practices as is demanded by the global market. So of course, to ensure that they get the certificate, especially MSPO, we have assisted them in various forms. And of course, I agree with Dr. Kasdi just now that the best thing to get people on board is to incentivize them. So for MSPO, for smallholders, we definitely give them incentives to get them to be certified. And of course, this is to avoid, like I said earlier, to burden them with extra cost for certification and to prepare for them to comply with the MSPO criteria. And government provide incentives to those smallholders, which covers whatever cost that is needed for them to be certified. And then we also offer technical support to the smallholders, like I mentioned earlier, because they lack the technical and financial resources. The Malaysian Palm Oil Board, which is the main palm oil body in Malaysia, they provided tunas officers or officers in around 500 locations all around the country. These officers are tasked to meet to take care of all the oil palm planters in their area, which is mainly to help them liaise with MPOB in relevant issues such as licensing, replanting, and auditing. So MPOB, to that extent also, MPOB provided, established this cluster we call sustainable palm oil clusters to help the smallholders get certified by arranging audits with the certification bodies. So what they do is they ensure that smallholders are ready to be audited and help them step by step through constant engagement and training. They also provide procedures and rules for management level that needs to be complied and applied by smallholders in their area. So it is this like a personalized officer for that area is playing a crucial role in providing all the support to the smallholders in getting them to be certified. And of course, on top of everything else, like I mentioned earlier, one of the problems just now is awareness. So we provide awareness and campaigns on MSPO itself. So we support them through programs such as, this is mainly a collaborative program between MPOCC, MPOB, and also the government, where we ensure that MSPO is well accepted throughout the country, especially among the smallholders. We do some road shows, like what we call like Jom MSPO, where we go to big cities in Ipoh, Johor Bahru, Kuching, Kita Kinabalu, and also not only big cities, but also to the rural plantation areas in the district of Keningau, Rompin, and Tawau, and some other small cities that's where the planters are. So when we go there, we open up a discussion for them, or if they need to know anything about MSPO, and normally we will answer all their questions. And there are times where this engagement is involved by the minister himself or the deputy, listening to the concerns on the ground, on their thoughts on the industry itself, and also how MSPO assess certification. So this is this is to show again the commitment and support. It goes from us right to the ministry and also the minister himself to support the smallholders, to ensure them that they are very well, they are aware of the certification and how it will help them, and we do constant engagement with them. But more importantly is to get the smallholders to grasp the idea of sustainability in producing the palm oil in their plantation. So once this is ingrained in their practice, this then it will easier to be translated into MSPO certificate. When they apply for certification, they know what are the things that will be looked at, and then they will comply to whatever it is. And ultimately, when they get the certificate, they will have access to the global market and avoid the ban by being unsustainable. So those are the few assistance that MPOCC and also at the broader level, the ministry has helped all these smallholders to get help through certificate. Thank you, Susan.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hafiz, for the answer. Okay, next is Pak Kasdi. I'm on time. I saw you
Okay.
on the line.
Sorry, I have to have a masker because I'm outside. Huh?
Yeah, I know. Okay, Pak Kasdi, can I, okay, I changed the question. Yeah, because since then your questions earlier were already answered, I changed to this question. How is the next 3 to 5 years moving forward on the certification on the sustainable palm oil for small scale planters?
Well, we always, first of all, we still focus on the how to revamping of the ISPO itself, because we have to still strengthen on the ISPO processes, as I told you, as an indicator for the sustainable development goals. From the 17, we already cover 12. We still completed on that. So in terms of the process of certification, so we encouraging, especially for the smallholder. I have to state again that the government pay the farmer for the 5 years cycle. So after that, if there is a new from them, the same farmer, they have to pay themselves, but only for 5 years the government pay. Okay, now for the next 3 or 5 years, we still on focus on the how to revamping of the process and procedure of the ISPO, in order to have a more opportunity, especially for the smallholder, to have access to the certification. So secondly is that, of course, we also have a comparison with MSPO, with RSPO itself, to have a changing in the experience, in order to have more and more completing to the indicator parameters that we have accomplished to the system of ISPO. The third process that we are still concerned is that we strengthen on the management of ISPO itself. Yeah, and especially for, we have to make increasing capacity of the human resource, that is especially in the secretariat. That is one. Secondly, we have to contact government office, agriculture government offices in the every provinces, to have a link with us in the center in Jakarta, to have, a more facilitation of the smallholder, especially for the smallholder, to have facilitated for the, also for the local authority, to have, more and more easier to proceed to the ISPO for the smallholder. For the overall ISPO, of course, we still completed for the indicator parameter itself, to have, completed 17 goals indicator of the sustainable development goals. That is our parameter and indicators as make to the ISPO.
Okay.
Yeah,
Next
Susan.
question, Pak.
Yeah.
What role would RSPO have to play since giants like Malaysia and Indonesia have MSPO and ISPO respectively, conforming to the local regulations? How do we differentiate MSPO and ISPO and from RSPO?
Yeah. So one day we have a meeting with them, you know, and we share each other. So we know now. There is some positive from the ISPO, and we have to strengthen in some cases. Yeah, we have refer and of course benchmarking to which one is better to have. Yeah, to revamping SPO itself, so this is not that easy, because most of them is, how you call it, bersaing Susan, bersaing. But
Competitive. Competitive.
anyway, yeah. Anyway, but we still have an opportunity to have a meeting together to share, in fact. But you know, who is able to certify the whole worth of the of the palm oil? No one. I think we have to share. We have to share. This is why we still have believe it and try to have revamping to the ISPO itself, especially for the system and then the human resource that is especially in the secretariat of ISPO. We still have the increasing capacity of them because they need some another experience to especially for the management of the ISPO after post certified management of ISPO to have the proof of the sustainability of the sustainability of the palm oil production in the country. Susan?
Okay. How about Mr. Hafiz? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, for me,
It's get a little bit
that's,
confusing, yeah.
yeah. For me, RSPO, I think I just talk because you said role of MSPO. I think RSPO will continue its current role. They are the pioneer, of course, in filling the supply chain in a certified sustainable palm oil. But especially among the big corporations, the mechanism is based on willing buyer, willing sellers, and of course, RSPO. I look at RSPO is like a club for a big corporations, that wanted to satisfy an agenda. Of course, the agenda here is to sustainability agenda within the supply chain of the companies that is involved in the organization. So they comply to the sustainability demand that are imposed on them, and of course, they also have an advantage in terms of they are in total control of their own governance and also resource management. So like I said, they are independent. They are working among themselves, big corporations to do this. Whereas to an extent, they could provide like the picture of what sustainable palm oil certification is, as compared to MSPO, and I think to an extent ISPO. We are a national scheme where we adopt all sustainability requirement and translate it into a local, I would say, local flavor, where we are more we cover the broader scope in terms of smallholders and big corporations. So, but we are also, trying to tune it to the national laws and constitutions and complex issues such as resource management. So I think in short, we wanted everyone involved in the industry to adhere to the sustainable production requirements of palm oil, but also we wanted it to be holistic, and where it suits Malaysia's approach. So while we also want to ensure that, again, the palm oil in Malaysia is sustainably produced, we also wanted to ensure that it doesn't burden those who involved in the certification scheme, as I mentioned earlier, because the plantation sector, the big corporations, especially now, even for MSPO in Malaysia, the plantation sector have already achieved close to 100% certification, which means that they have no problem in complying to whatever sustainable standards that are imposed to them. But our challenges now is, like we said, the committee, the community involvement, which is the smallholders. So of course, we acknowledge we need to also push them to be or to adopt the sustainable practices that is imposed by the international market or wanted to see by the international market. But we also want, and we, of course, through MSPO, we wanted to give this to them. We wanted to give them a fair market access, which is affordable, I would say, without burdening them, especially as I mentioned earlier, it involves around 600,000 people, smallholders that are depending on their livelihood on this. So I think MSPO offers this because, like we mentioned earlier, voluntary certification, it somewhat offers the cost to it is a little bit problematic to them, because I think this is covered by a 2016 paper, I think, by Yusof and Yu on the burden of certification, which discusses on this matter. But regardless, so MSPO of course addresses this. It's a national initiative. It's different from a corporation focused initiative. This also means that as compared to voluntary scheme, the commitment to sustainability is by the country itself. As Malaysia always supported so on sustainability or environmental efforts since Rio 1992, where we wanted to keep more than 50% of our land under forest cover, and also now the UN SDG. So unlike private companies, we want to ensure that palm oil is sustainable, not just for profit, or to satisfy a specific consumer demand. But more importantly is to ensure, MSPO also wanted to ensure that the sustainability efforts that are being taken by us is to ensure that the future generation will continue to prosper and all our people have better income and livelihood, on top of ensuring quality products with also other trading nations. Of course, as a national, this is a national commitment. We are putting Malaysia's name to it. So definitely, our certification would cater not only the profit side of it, but we want to cater the benefits of people who are involved in it, and we also want to show good relation with our trading nations. And I believe this is what embodies a national certification. And I think since, of course, we are also on this topic also, I hope to see that more nations, more trading nations would adopt national schemes like MSPO, as we are also trying to achieve sustainability. Despite, if you can go through all the criteria that we have already put in, it is comparable to comply to most of sustainability requirement. In fact, we are now under standards revision. So the new revision will also be more tighter and will introduce more sustainability. Will address more sustainability requirements by the international community. So I think from now, I think we can see that the voluntary is mainly to cater, of course, the big organization, while the MSPO caters the holistic approach of, in terms of MSPO, in the sustainability efforts by everyone involved in a Malaysia perspective. So I think that's the difference where we can see between the three certification. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hafiz, for your answer. Next is Pak Kasdi.
Yes. Yes, Susan.
Okay, Pak. This is the new rules or something like a new thing that is happening in Indonesia not long ago. So with Indonesian government push to make palm oil a major part of the biofuel mix, doesn't mean getting certification will be easier in order to cope with the demand. If it's not making easier, would this fuel demand, do they need a rush? Do they need or do they need to rush for get more certification to actually provide the demand?
Well, yeah. I think this is not the real. It's not the direct. How you call it? Because I mean that the certification itself, in fact, for especially for the smallholder, because government has a supporting very much on the smallholder, especially to have more certification for the smallholder palm oil. That is one. The secondly, so the still the policy to have a link to the market with the high price they can get it from the palm oil production is also have our focus uh, to have link to the how important the certification we have to continue on that. So the third is I think that we have also kind of the uh, more and more socialization for the farmer and access of the ISPO process, and then we also have increasing capacity of them ISPO to have to balancing between the demand of the biodiesel because without the encouraging that, so we still have a complex how you call it conflicting of the policy between the how to increase the production and productivity, and also how the market can do a link to the market itself. So therefore, to have a link with the market is not enough to have only the production, but quality standard is also have our focus to have where the farmer have to accomplish on that. Therefore, with the period of 5 years, is always have support any support program, for example, for the technical and also the financing of the certification of the ISPO. So this is the way that we have how you call it, arranges between the demand of the market and also how the production in terms of the encouraging of the certification itself. Yes, Susan.
Okay. Okay, next, Pak. Since Bapak on the way, I finish up the questions to you. So we don't bother you anymore. When the
Yeah.
pandemic occurring now doesn't mean people are now focusing on production instead of certification. Profits are surviving now seems like more important. What are your opinion on this?
Sorry, the signal is just. Can you
Oh,
repeat it?
sorry. Yeah, it's
Sorry.
okay. I repeat again.
Yeah.
When pandemic occurring now doesn't mean more companies are now focusing on production instead of getting certification, especially in smallholders.
Yeah.
Profits are surviving seems to be more crucial for now. What are your opinion on this?
Yeah. Well, yeah. This is the discretion condition. Yeah, Susan. So during the pandemic, is always have a more and more obstacle we have to facing. So, well, the production is the first. Yeah. But also we still proceeding and helping of the proceed of the certification itself. Yeah, first we are focused on the production still because well, especially you know COVID is always crowded in the city, but in the in the villages we have no COVID. so so the farmer is still working normally in the field, especially in the in the palm oil plantation, in the village especially. So we still focus on that because this is the one of the best commodity of agriculture, which is supporting very much on the economic of Indonesia. This is therefore we still focus on that. Production is always the first. The certification is still always okay. Another delay is no problem because the situation is in the pandemic is not that normal situation. Susan.
Okay, thank you, Pa. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. I have to leave because there is some
It's
meeting there.
okay.
Yeah, Pak Dr. Hafiz, see you.
We arrange another webinars with you guys
Susan.
again.
Yeah, Penny.
Jumpa lagi ya Dr.
Terima
Kasdi.
kasih. Thank you so
Okay,
much for
thank you very
today.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Kasti.
Ya, terima kasih.
Sorry, we still have
Safe
Assalamualaikum.
a question
trip.
for Mr. Harvest.
Okay.
Ya,
I have two questions for you.
Dr. Kasdi. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So sorry because I got to rush to Dr. Kasi because he's on the way.
Yeah,
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 you,
sure. It's
you
okay.
need to meet another minister. Okay. Okay. Do you want to answer the questions first on the pandemic? Like when the pandemic occurring now, doesn't mean companies are now more focusing on production instead of certifications because profit and surviving of the company is more important than getting yourself certified. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, thanks. I don't think for now on MSPO side, I don't think it's an issue right now because one, sustainable production, palm oil production has already in a way because we've set this up since 2015, is already somewhat welded into the whole system. So despite the pandemic, certification, I think still continues because we've already made it mandatory. So, and we have also already mentioned that we've already given notice to all of the industry members that all of them must be certified by, of course, January this year. And though there are still some who have not been certified, we urge them to come and register now before, last June 2021, or the MPOB, which is the enforcement body, will start to take action on some of them. Though it sounded a little bit harsh, but we are actually giving some leeways to the independent smallholders. But This is to show that the government is really serious in ensuring that everyone in the industry is getting certified, and so that the Malaysia palm oil can truly be we can truly declare that most of our palm oil production are very sustainable. So this is, as mentioned earlier, also we have introduced a lot of assistance to ensure that all stakeholders are certified. So I think there is no also real excuse for anyone in the industry to actually not get certified, because like we've provided incentives, we've gone road shows, and we've giving them awareness programs and everything, even some other forms of assistance. They are even given their own officers, where the officers in each area actually help them through the process itself. So, however, despite I did say that it will not affect, because in a way they have a deadline to catch, which they need to get certified. But I think the number that will be reflected on paper is going to be affected a bit. This is because due to movement restrictions imposed due to the to avoid the spread of the COVID virus. Our auditors cannot go on the field to actually do the on-the-ground audits. So this will possibly affect a little bit in terms of the number of certification. But however, I think once the travel restriction is being lifted, definitely we can see that the number will start to pick up again.
Yeah, sure. I hope the pandemic is over like quite fast. It's been
Yeah,
almost 2 years, and it's been like pandemic fatigue. Everybody
yeah.
working from home, and the cases are now rises again. Indonesia is highly, I mean, very hardly hit by this Delta variant. So yeah, hopefully everything can back on track again. Okay,
Yeah,
last question for
hope so.
you.
Okay.
What are your opinion on the International Sustainability and Carbon Certification, or ISCC, raising the emission factors upward for palm oil regularly, making palm oil unable to meet its GHG standard?
Well, first of all, I really can't say because, as mentioned earlier, each of the certification has its own take on getting to the same objective. But I assume ISCC themselves have started with, maybe in their interpretation, started with an acceptable value of GHG emission for the palm oil industry, and then revise it over time to ensure participants of their scheme increase their efforts to strive to achieve higher GHG savings. It definitely, I think, will put a burden to those who are ISCC certified. But of course, I would look at it positively too, because to me, ISCC is a credible certification scheme, and hopefully, this level that they introduce is based on scientific data, and of course, they believe that this can be realistically achieved to the new level that is proposed. I'm to get maybe into the details of it. I have, since we have my technical guy also, Hasbullah, here. Maybe he can elaborate more on this to give you a better answer and perspective on this.
Yeah, I thank you. Yes, thank you, Chair Fiz. Thanks, Susan.
Sure.
I think in the technically emission factors needed for doing the calculation, especially to get the CO2 equation emissions related to specific input material, be it like maybe a fertilizer or maybe transportation. So of course, when they increase the number of emission factors, then when we do the calculation with existing practices, perhaps it may increase the value or the numbers. But I mean, I stand to be corrected also in case maybe we have expert here in our forum chat. But I think I don't want to also dwell much on the technical part of it. And as explained from my CEO just now, we need to somehow respect the decision made by ICC. Being one of the renowned voluntary certification scheme in the world, as mentioned by our CEO here. So indeed, I think changing the goalpost is actually a normal practices in any organization, similar to MSPO, on how we are going to do better in our MSPO revised MSPO upcoming revised standard. Also, maybe the only difference is how we react to certain policy, especially when we say about ICC, we note that ICC GHG emission factor derived from the EU sustainability policy or requirement, or maybe renewable energy directive, as well as independent GHG governing tools such as Biograce and Eco-Invent. This one you can refer to the ICC GHG emission calculation, where they use the emission factor according to the studies or figures released by Biograce and also Eco-Invent. So I think surely, as mentioned, they would have mechanism in place to come up with those formula framework and how they derive into different level of factors. Previously, they include moisture. I think now they only consider dry, no longer moisture. So I think we need to bear in mind that those entities are EU recognized tools and methodologies, and then it's linked to the EU policymakers, and perhaps they would like to achieve harmonization in the EU in terms of GHG calculation. So in my humble opinion, what Malaysia can do, I think we have discussed this with my CEO also moving forward on our GHG calculation, is to not only have our own standardized GHG emission factors, but also I think ensure for it to be recognized internationally, if not EU, maybe through a IPCC framework, International Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. Maybe we follow that framework. I think we also need to also include our relevant ministry in Malaysia, as well as our expert in Malaysia to look into our GHG. So I think that should be, we need to have something to use as a basis to justify what is needed for the palm oil industry. Perhaps this type of argument we can bring forward to the EU. So yeah, I think that's all from myself, Hafiz and Susan. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheikh Habibullah. Thank you. Okay, for Mr. Hafiz, any last word for the attendees today?
Okay, my last words would be, though I know RSPO and SSCC has been the highlight of palm oil trade for quite some time, they are the voluntary, of course, the voluntary scheme of the palm oil sustainable palm oil certification. So if any one of you from who are here today from any government organization, or in fact from companies, you know, try to look into national certification like MSPO, because I believe that we are also our standards are as good to cater the demand of the international sustainability requirement, and you know, our coverage is more broad. Like I said earlier, we are not only covering the big corporations. They already have RSPO, which they are trading among themselves. You know, we are beyond profit. Whatever purchase that you do, or even acceptance by the government, or in fact by among the corporations that wanted MSPO, it will bring benefits to the whole country in Malaysia, especially the smallholders. But not only that, those will trigger, how would I say, a snowball effect when the smallholders have started to have more awareness and they started to see the benefit of subscribing to MSPO, and you started to buy MSPO, and then you know, the effect will snowball into more conservation of land and more, you know, the conservation of wildlife and everything in it, because we are talking about national certification. And again, I would like to stress that this is a national commitment. So it can be assured that we are not only doing this for profit, but we are doing this for our future generations. And it is a very important thing to do. So again, we have a lot of programs, collaboration programs that already in line in MPOCC. So if you are interested to do this, where maybe we can collaborate, or you know, maybe we can have more sessions to introduce MSPO and how we can actually help your product, or talk to the relevant government agencies to accept MSPO in your country and with your current procurement standards or procedures, we are more than happy to connect to you. Maybe we can do a promotion program together, you know, and put MSPO ultimately, hopefully. Of course, my ultimate dream is, of course, to have MSPO logo on all of your products, so that MSPO is well received by everyone around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, such a nice words. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Hafiz, for joining us today at this interview session. Back to you, Vani.
Okay, thank you very much, Susan. And thank you, Mr. Hafiz and Dr. Kasdi, for sharing your views and professional thoughts with us. Yeah, let's hope one day we can see MSPO logo around the world. Okay, so next I'll pass to Miss Cindy, our International Business Development Manager, to shed some light about the World Palm Virtual Expo and Palmex Malaysia exhibition. Miss Cindy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Benny, for the introduction. A very good afternoon to all the attendees today. I'm Cindy here. I'm from BioWorks Trade Media Group. So riding on the success of our last World Palm Virtual Expo and Conference 2020, and many of our exhibitors asked us not to skip for the event this year. So we have the second edition of our World Palm Virtual Expo and Conference this year on the 7th to 9th September 2021. So as for next year, we believe that 2022 would be the year where the Malaysian economy will rebound. So we finally will have our physical show, Palmex Malaysia 2022, which would be held in the commercial capital of Kuala Lumpur. And the event date will be on the 20 to 21st September 2022. And the venue, can you see at the bottom there? So it will be at the KLCC Convention Center, Hall 4. So below here, there is my email address and my contact number. So feel free to email me or WhatsApp me if you would like to know more about our events and if you have any questions or concerns. So that's the end of my sharing. So now I'll be handing back to Benny. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Thanks for your sharing. So, ladies and gentlemen, our live interview session has come to an end. I would like to thank you, our supporting partners, the Council of Palm Oil Producing Countries, CPOCSI, and the Malaysia Biomass Industries Confederation, MBIC. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. We hope to see you next time. And if you have any inquiries, welcome to write to our general email, my@fireworksbi.com. Our team will liaise with you accordingly. And feel free to visit our website at www.asia-palmoil.com for more information about us. Also, welcome to follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn at Asia Palm Oil Magazine to get the latest information on news. Again, I appreciate Mr. Hafiz and Dr. Kasdi for spending your precious time with us. And thank you everyone for your time as well. And thank you to our panelists as well, who is really working hard to answering a lot of questions at the Q&A panel. And I wish you enjoyed the session. And yeah, I wish everyone enjoyed the session and is benefited from it. Do continue to take care and stay safe during the pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benny. Thank you, Chef Amal.